as identical twins, there's a natural closeness because you've been best friends and womb mates, soulmates basically, from the beginning of your existence. And then our childhood especially fostered a special bond. And then going into high school and college, we did everything together, same major, same schools, all the same classes in college, and we were roommates, just had so much fun. And then after college, we lived together before we both got married, and we got married within 3.5 months of each other. Our husbands had to learn, you're not just marrying the one person, but you're kind of marrying the twin too. And this is a special dynamic that you're going to have to get used to.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Hello there, and welcome to the Strong by Design podcast show. Your host today, Coach Chris Wilson, and so excited to have a conversation with someone who is a new member of our team, who started with us late last year. And really, the reason why she became part of our team, we'll get there. It'll come up towards the end of the podcast, but it's really because I sensed through her words in an email that she wrote why she thought she'd be a good fit for our team. I just loved her character. I loved her passion, her enthusiasm, her love of fitness and health and of helping people. And, you know, the more I got to know her and to know her story, I thought that because it's so touching and moving and personal for me, that it would really, it'd be something that our listeners, our audience here at Strong by Design would appreciate and, grow to have this love and appreciation for our guest today like we do here at Critical Bench. So before I introduce our very special guest, I do want to take a quick second, like I do at the start of just about every episode, and to thank our listeners. Every time we make an episode, there's a purpose behind it. It's a conversation that I was interested in having, or our team, one of our other members here who hosts the show, was interested in having, and knew that it would be a benefit or a help to other people in the world. And our show is listened to and downloaded across the whole globe. It's so fun to see. We're laughing just a week ago or so. We see we're ranking #1 in Bermuda, and we're ranking #1 in Switzerland, and it's so fun to see that there's people all over the world that we will never ever know personally that are listening to our show and finding it helpful, useful, inspiring, motivating, all those things. The reason why people listen to podcasts, right? To learn, to be informed, to be moved in some way, to get that kick in the butt, to take that next step in life. And, I listen to podcasts like crazy and audiobooks and things for that very same reason, because it just helps me. It helps make me a better man. And so I thank you so much, if you're new to our show, for finding us. If you're a return listener, we just love you and appreciate you coming back for more. And so be sure at the end of this episode, and I'll say it again, but hit those little dots on your device there that help you share this episode with somebody. It just takes a couple quick taps, and you can text it to a friend or share it with somebody who could benefit from this story, who needs to hear the words from our guest today. We appreciate that so very much. So our guest, Miss Joanne Miller, a new member of Critical Bench as of December of last year, who is helping us in several ways. And we hope to continue to give her more to do here, because she does such a great job for us. Her story is unique. And I don't say that just because, we all have a unique story, but this is unlike anything you'll probably have heard before, but for me, it triggered an emotional response in a much different way because I'm the younger brother of identical twins. And she herself is an identical twin. She'll always be a twin, even though, well, you'll hear the story. But our guest today, Joanne Miller, was kind enough, and she goes by Jo, by the way. She goes by Jo. So if you know her well, she goes by Jo. If you don't know her well, we were talking about this before we hit record, she'll go by Joanne, just like I'm Christopher to people who don't know me, or Chris, or even CJ to my brother. And she, her story's amazing, and it just blew me away. And in fact, you're going to hear some very special words that I had her read prior to recording this episode that our wonderful editor, Mr. Matt Gelly, is going to infuse into this episode. And so you're going to be just blown away by her words and her heart. But Jo, welcome to Strong by Design, and for sharing this amazing story with our listeners today. They don't know what they're in for, but I do.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. This is such a blessing and an honor, and I'm really excited.
Yes, it is a blessing and an honor, and I'm glad because you said yes to doing this, and I didn't have to even pull your arm too much, or twist your arm, whatever you want to say, which is great because this is not something that a lot of people are willing to do, to put themselves out there to share their story. So I'm really encouraged by it, and so grateful for you taking the time to do this. First of all, let people know like a little bit about your background, your bio. Like, why are you part of the Critical Bench team? And then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I'm Jo Miller. I like long walks on the beach. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that's a different kind of show. Never mind. Actually, the whole thing with the becoming a part of the Critical Bench team happened right before Thanksgiving. My husband and I had just moved from Maryland to North Carolina, and we had recently gotten the news that we were expecting a baby after years of infertility, so big time miracle. And then I was watching a Facebook Live video where you mentioned something about an opportunity for a health and fitness person to help answer questions for fans on the YouTube channel. And I thought, well, I just love helping people. I get so much joy out of answering questions. When people have a question, I can't get enough of it. And so I thought this would be like just playing. So I thought, you know what, I'll give this a try. I'm not sure if it will work out, but it never hurts to try. And I like to do everything I can to live life to the fullest. So I submitted my letter, and lo and behold, a couple days later, you got back to me, and I actually cried reading your response. I was so excited and pumped up, and I've just really enjoyed it since.
Yeah. Well, it's been terrific, and we're only getting started. Obviously, we're in search of somebody that was as passionate about helping others and fitness and health and strength and all these great things that we practice and preach here at Critical Bench for over 2 decades. And your email was very touching. It was long,
Sorry.
but in a good way, long, rather than just like 3 sentences of why you want to be part of our team. Right? It was in depth. It maybe is a better way to put it, and really got a real glimpse into like who you were just from your words and your desire to join our team here. So it was kind of a no-brainer based on other responses that we had received, and it was an overwhelming, like, absolutely, let's get her going fast. And so you've been a great support, obviously, of our YouTube channels, helping answering questions. Every day we have very active following on YouTube with thousands and thousands of videos and that require not just, hey, thanks for your comment. Some people have really interesting questions based on our material that only a fitness and health expert is capable of answering. And so that's what we have you doing, as well as just writing descriptions for the content itself that's on YouTube, which is great and so meaningful, because that description area of YouTube really helps give people more insight into the material, maybe answers their questions a little bit better even than them just watching, because it's almost like a mini article inside the YouTube there. And so it's been so much fun, and there's a lot more to come of it as we continue to grow with our kind of our new vision for our YouTube channels. They're going through a bit of an overhaul right now in a very good way, and so we're super excited, and I think it's only going to really bring more opportunity, more work for you. But we want to get past that, obviously, so everyone knows, all right, this is a person that is a fitness and health expert. You have a laundry list of credentials. I mean, you've been in sports and all kinds of different environments where you've gleaned a lot from high-level people over the years, and worked with a lot of people in coaching from in-person to online, and it's a great area to be in. But tell me a little bit more about why sports in particular, and why activity and stuff was so very special to you from a young age, because it wasn't just you.
That's right. Yes, my identical twin sister and I loved playing sports. We just would eat, sleep, and breathe it, and that's all we did all day long when we were kids. And sports were more than just playing a game. It was also a healthy outlet. We had a very traumatic childhood with lots of pain and suffering, but in the midst of that, we had sports, and that became such a great escape. And it was a world where we could dream that anything was possible, because most of our lives growing up, we were told we couldn't do this, couldn't do that, you're too small, too weak. No one in the family is that athletic, and you'll never amount to much. Whether it was a variety of people that said it, but it just gave us more fuel to say, you know what, we're going to prove others wrong. So even though we were the least likely to ever end up on a sports team, always picked last or even not picked at all, bullied unmercifully, but then that tide started changing. We were playing sports, we would copy what we would see on TV and just try to perfect all the technique, and we had so much fun. But then what really made a big change was when our uncle in New York said, if you're going to come here every summer, you're going to have to learn martial arts. And we were 8 years old, and he was like the Italian version of Mr. Miyagi. And we said, wow, we would love to learn. He wouldn't let us enter the dojo until we had trained for a year with just him. And he would have us do hundreds of punches in a horse stance where your legs are just shaking, and we would be so tired, but we didn't want to say anything, and I'd be so sore that putting the sheet on over me to go to sleep at night hurt my muscles. He wasn't overdoing it, but he just saw that we had so much more potential, and we didn't want to tap out. So if he said to do it, we did it. And we did push-ups on our knuckles. We would sit in a horse stance. I'd say sit. It's actually very difficult to be in a horse stance. And then I'd have my twin sister on my back while pushing my identical twin cousins and their older sister on the swing set, holding that for minutes at a time. And then we would switch places. And then once he felt like we had just gotten enough of the basics where we could enter the dojo, then he allowed us in. But we were the only white belts and only girls. So it was very intimidating. It was all these men, a lot of police officers, people in the military. They were black belts or 3rd degree, 4th degree on up. And it was such a great experience. It taught us a lot about mental toughness and pushing through and doing things that are hard and doing it afraid. And then when we went home and life was very difficult, we carried ourselves so differently that the bullies stopped bullying us. We were able to stand up for ourselves. And then it also helped with sports. We had bad vision, but doing the martial arts and then the surgeries that we had helped correct some of those problems that led to us struggling at first with sports. And then the kids that were the least likely to ever play sports, we went on to play 3 varsity sports in high school, softball in college, and then I went on to competing in powerlifting and strongman.
Wow, that's fantastic. So tell people really quickly, what does that look like? Like a girl who from a young age was told she's not going to amount to much, right? Or you're too little, you're too weak. You go through all of that, you overcome it, and you end up in the realm of like power lifters and strongmen competition. Like, what does that look like for a young woman? Because I think there's a lot of people when they hear power lifter or strongman, and this is just the general public, I think they don't think of a young attractive woman, right? They think of like some big burly guy from Iceland who can pick a stone up 5 feet in the air, right? That weighs 300 pounds or something. What was it that attracted you to that, and what were some of the things that you were best at in that world?
Wow. Well, you had mentioned recently in a conversation that your favorite movie was Rocky, and my twin sister and I would watch Rocky, and we thought that he was this big-time underdog, and nobody believed in him. And we believed in each other. We thought it was possible, even though we were told it was impossible. And I think it just was really exhilarating and fulfilling to do things that people said you can't do. That, no, you can't do hundreds of push-ups, or you can't do pull-ups, or whatever it might be, or make this particular sports team. And that just made us want to try harder. So we cheered each other on, coached each other through, and then it just made me always look forward to doing the thing that was very hard. And to overcome that was a lot of fun. But getting into lifting, which I did later on after high school, that actually at first was intimidating, not knowing what to do, going into the gym. But that same mindset that we had going into martial arts, facing bullies, dealing with other trauma that was going on in our lives, we used that same mindset to attack powerlifting and then eventually strongman. So yes, definitely scary at first. The first time someone told me about powerlifting, it was a man at a gym who I noticed was wearing a bench suit and doing all these crazy lifts, and I asked him about it, and he would fill me in on powerlifting and how it worked. And he looked at me and said, you look like you're pretty strong. Have you ever considered it? And I said, no, my name's not Elga. I'm not from Bulgaria. And the next day he brought a powerlifting magazine into the gym, and he said, look at this woman right here. And it was a picture of my future coach and dear friend, Susie Hartwig-Gary, who's in the Powerlifting Hall of Fame. And she's little and petite, but lifting many times her body weight, setting all these world records. But we looked like we were about the same height and weight. And he said, see, they have weight classes, and see, there are women out there that do this. You could do this, try it, and you should meet this lady one day. She's amazing. And so I looked her up, read about her story. I was so blown away, and I thought, I want to be like that. I want to do the stuff that she's doing. And then years later, I eventually got to meet her at a powerlifting meet. And I actually made a mistake while squatting. And she pulled me aside and said, would you mind if I gave you a tip? And I thought, would I mind? You're in the Hall of Fame. You are the strongest woman right now in the world. Of course, please tell me everything you can tell me. She was so nice. And I grew a lot from there. So there's a lot of people where it looks intimidating, but I would say we're capable of far more than we realize. And I feel like especially females don't realize their full potential. And that's why with coaching high school softball and other athletes, and especially girls, I feel really motivated to help show them that the sky is the limit.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's amazing, the things that others see in us that we don't quite see in ourselves. And it's, we are blessed to have these people in our lives kind of just at the right points to help kind of get us going in a particular direction. And because, no one can take credit solely for their success in life, right? There's so many other moving parts. There's so many other people that were planted in their life at some point. Even if it was from a negative, it still could have kind of steered them or pushed them into something. And it's like, Luke Skywalker had Obi-Wan, you know what I mean? And Yoda, and like, it wasn't just Luke, it wasn't just Michael Jordan, he had a lot of other people to help him become the best. It wasn't just him. And so I think that's what people always focus on, the end result. They see that single person and all that they have accomplished and how, impressive and amazing they are. But it's kind of like that overnight success thing where it's like, well, yeah, you didn't see the 10 years it took, the 10,000 hours it took, and the people investing their time and resources. You're just seeing the end result. And so that's fantastic, from your uncle to your twin to all these other important people to really help get the most out of, for you to become the Joe Miller that you are today. And you wouldn't be that woman if it wasn't for all these other amazing people along the way. So knowing that about you and this incredible, unbreakable bond you had with your identical twin, what does life look like then, once you're like, getting through high school into college and stuff and becoming like young adults? What does that look like?
Well, definitely our childhood laid a good foundation for an unbreakable bond, and we needed each other to survive. I think as identical twins, there's a natural closeness because you've been best friends and womb mates, soulmates basically, from the beginning of your existence. And then our childhood especially fostered a special bond. And then going into high school and college, we did everything together, same major, same schools, all the same classes in college, and we were roommates, just had so much fun. And then after college, we lived together before we both got married, and we got married within 3.5 months of each other. So pretty wild. But we needed that for what was coming.
Yeah, exactly. Share with somebody listening who maybe isn't as familiar with like the twin experience. I was I think I said at the start of the episode, I was the younger brother of identical twins. And so my older brothers, they were 5 years older than me almost to the day. I always looked at them as like one super brother. They were so much alike and really, truly identical all the way up through high school, where people still had trouble telling them apart. But for me, like, I could always tell the difference between my brothers. It was easy for me because they were just so distinct in their own identical way. And, I think was the other catalyst in me really wanting you on this episode, is because I know how special that relationship is firsthand between identical twins. You came from the same egg, so you have identical DNA. Like you can have a thought that your twin sister utters. She can have a song in her head that you start singing. And I don't think that there's a lot of people out there, unless they are twins themselves or have siblings that are twins or best friends maybe, understand how that bond really works.
It's truly special, and I can't compare it to anything else. We could read each other's minds. We didn't have to say anything, and just always laughing and playing. And just, you have a built-in best friend from the beginning and super close. And it was funny when we both got married, our husbands had to learn you're not just marrying the one person, but you're kind of marrying the twin too. Right. And this is a special dynamic that you're going to have to get used to.
Yeah. Yep. It's true. I mean, and there's some twins that really go far with it, where they have to live near each other, and they even like to wear the same clothing and stuff when they go out, like to really, I don't know if it's to just mess with people even more or what, but where it's an attachment to someone else that's kind of above and beyond. Obviously there's intimate relationships between a man and a woman, right, that fall in love and have this incredible bond and feel like soulmates. But the fact that you've been connected from birth all the way up until, whatever, every single stage of your life, from, growing up in the same bedroom and sometimes in the same bed, the same sports teams, same classes. It's really unlike any other kind of relationship that exists. And when I lost my older brother, so my older brother Bob lost his identical twin Dave when they were 42 years old, and I know how hard it was. Give me a moment. I know how hard it was for me to lose my brother. But for my brother Bob, it was on a whole different level. So I thank you for going there with us, but give us some details and some insights into that kind of what happened and that stage of life and how difficult that was for you.
Yeah, after my twin sister was diagnosed and went through her cancer journey, as she called it, blessed cancer, when she eventually found her ultimate healing in heaven, it was devastating. We were 33 at the time, and Sorry.
It's okay. I get it.
I remember thinking life moving forward was going to be impossible, that it would be the hardest thing I had ever faced, which was saying a lot. And I remember one day driving home from work and thinking and praying to God, I don't know how I'm going to make it. And then I remembered my twin and how she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Sorry. And how that was an impossible journey to face, but she faced it with so much faith and strength and positivity. And it just, all of a sudden, it gave me the strength, like, if she can face that, she taught me everything I needed to know to face this with great faith. And I remember feeling really guilty, because it felt unfair that I was still living. And I struggled with that. And actually, the first year, it was really hard for me to work out. I felt like she had been bedridden and would have given anything to walk, to run, to lift weights. And I got to do so much, and I had so much more. And I was so healthy. And I was feeling like it was not fair, but then I was praying, and I felt like God told me, what are you going to say to your sister when you see her one day in heaven? And she asks you, so what did you do with all that extra time? And that that just struck me so much. And from that moment on, it was still hard, but I pushed myself. I thought, I'm going to live for both of us. I want to make as many memories as possible so that when I get to heaven, I'll have so much to share with her. We'll have so much to talk about, and she'll be so grateful that I didn't waste that time.
I know how hard that must be for you to talk through. It's hard to lose anybody that you love, a parent, a sibling, a child, of course. And anybody listening right now has probably lost someone that was dear to them on some level, a grandparent. Some of us have just unfortunately suffered those losses far too soon. And if it wasn't for the love from others in our lives and from our God, it would be impossible to get through. Having faith, and this is, just something, sometimes events like this in our lives can pull us far away from God and really have a negative effect on our faith. But that's where we need to surround ourselves with the right people in a community, and to know that that's the opposite effect that ultimately it can have. It can actually bring us much closer. I remember being upset with God when I lost my brother, and then upset again after losing my mother just years later. Both were cancer related, and it's awful. But there is that one key thing that you mentioned is, what would they want for us? And we have to live up to that. And you're doing it now. Share with our listeners what exactly you have been doing just in the last few years in this line of work, the coaching and the support that you're offering to other people in the fitness and health space.
Yeah, well, I've continued working on since then as a personal trainer, sports performance coach, and nutritionist, softball coach, and I got more involved with Believe Big. I'm wearing their hat. You'll see me wear that a lot. I love their apparel. They're an organization that helps cancer patients navigate the cancer journey using an integrative approach, and they just helped us tremendously. And my sister had so many miraculous turnarounds where the doctors at Hopkins couldn't believe it. They said she was a walking miracle all the time, and that they had learned so much from her. And I've heard from many other people who were later diagnosed say that they feel that they were able to overcome cancer from lessons that they learned from my twin sister. And so I'm very motivated to help out Believe Big, help cancer patients. Also, my sister had a dream where she wanted to write a book called Blessed Cancer instead of breast cancer. And she wanted to share everything that she had learned about health and fitness and living life optimally. And we started working on our own little TV show. We didn't get very far because we'd just get into these giggle fits and we'd be in tears on the floor. Right. But we had all kinds of ideas and all kinds of dreams where we were going to help people. And we wanted to help people just achieve their health and fitness goals, but not just goals for looking a certain way, but to live life at optimal health and to make the most out of your life. And so she had that book she wanted to write. So over the last few years, I've been writing stories about lessons I learned from my twin sister and the things that we learned, the lessons on how to live life well. And I'm actually starting to wrap it up, and I'd like to get it published and share that. So that would be continuing something she had, and just keep on teaching people as much as possible. It breaks my heart. There's a lot of people who don't have, I guess, access to the kind of knowledge that we have. We've trained in it or experienced it, but I found this to be true when I worked at the vitamin shop for years while I was in college. I remember working with this boss who was brilliant. I felt like she was a walking encyclopedia. And at the time, I was still learning a lot about supplementation, nutrition. And I'd say to her, when people come in, how do they know what to buy, which supplements or how to eat? Because there's so much to it. It's so complicated. And a lot of people they buy supplements that they're not absorbing. They're eating the wrong kinds of foods and they don't know it. And she said, yeah, it's sad, but that's why we're here and we're going to guide them. And so that really motivated me. I found that there was a lot of people who didn't know about exercise and nutrition and supplementation. And that's why I love Critical Bench, the YouTube channel. There's so much free content. And then there's also a lot of great content where if people want to buy something towards a program that's going to help them with their goals, it's incredible, and it's just at their fingertips and people all over the world. So that's something I want to continue to do, is educate people, because I believe that if you're educated, it leads to empowerment, and if the more you know, the more prepared you'll be and you'll have more opportunities.
Okay, as promised, here is the twin tribute that Jo wrote just a couple days after her twin went home to heaven. She shared this at her service. I can't even imagine how difficult this would have been to read through. So this is the twin tribute entitled Life with My Twin by Jo.
Jess was my womb mate, best friend, and better half. She was my hero right out of the womb. I was supposed to be born first, but flipped over and she came out first instead. Since then, she has always led the way. Growing up, we were never apart. We always shared a room, played all the same sports, went to college together as roommates, and studied the same major. We created our own twin language and could feel and sense each other's pain. We didn't even have to talk. We could say so much to each other with just one look. We loved switching classes in school and playing fun twin pranks on people. She could make me laugh like no one else, and we protected each other fiercely. We would always look out for the other one. In elementary school, we had different teachers. When one of us had a classmate who brought cupcakes to class, the one who got one would wrap it up and save it until school was over. When we got on the school bus, we would share the cupcake. We would make the other one eat the bigger piece. Somehow, we had this unwritten code to take care of the other one. Jess and I could sense when the other one was in trouble. Many times, Jess knew when something bad happened to me. She knew I was in danger the night of my near-tragic car accident, where I had to be flown to shock trauma before she even got the call. She slept in the hospital bed with me until I was released. As a young child, I got really severe poison ivy, and I was highly allergic. My skin was bleeding, and I was in so much pain. Jess stayed up with me for hours in the night, stroking my back to comfort me. She loved and nurtured me like no one else. Our bond was so incredibly close. It never felt like we were two people. We felt like we were one. I have so many great memories of doing karate with her, playing sports, making summer sing-alongs in New York, watching Disney shows, going to church retreats, and performing to NSYNC songs at school. We loved doing knuckle push-ups at 8 years old, and we'd hold a horse stance while pushing our twin cousins on swings, while Jess was on my back and I would be on hers. There were so many fun times, tag team wrestling and roughhousing with our older brother Chris. We started dreaming big as little kids and thought anything was possible, even when we were told we could not do something. Telling us we could not do something only made our fire to achieve it burn so much brighter. Jess and I wanted to be the first females to play Major League Baseball and play with our childhood hero, Cal Ripken Jr. We taught ourselves how to play sports by copying what we saw on TV and playing for hours and hours a day until we got it right. We were each other's greatest cheerleader. I will never forget when Granny got us tickets to see the Baltimore Orioles for our 10th birthday. We were so excited to see Cal play, who had the same exact birthday as us. After the game, we ran to the top of the Orioles dugout and asked Cal to sign a ball for us. He did this hilarious double take when he saw us and went into the dugout quickly. We thought we missed our chance, but then he came back and handed us his baseball bat. One of my favorite memories with her from high school was learning the in-sync dance moves and performing in front of our entire school. We had no official dance training, but thought it would be fun. Somehow we started doing the dances at school on our lunch breaks, and eventually we were asked to perform at multiple pep rallies. The whole experience happened because of Jess. It was her idea, and she had the courage to try it. We were wildly silly together and would burst into the biggest giggle fits that left us in tears, even as adults. We got into trouble for throwing a Nerf football in a convenience store as teenagers. She was always so playful and adventurous. She was the only person I would sing in front of because I never felt judged by her about anything. Somehow, she viewed me as being flawless in spite of me. Jess believed in me more than anyone and made me feel like nothing was impossible. Her faith in me was shocking and beautiful. Her heart and compassion for people was absolutely unmatched, starting at a very early age. She never wanted anyone to feel left out or not feel important. I was doubly blessed to be a twin, and I wish that everyone could have one. Other favorite memories include when Jess got married and later became a mother. When I think of Jess, I think of joy. But that joy grew tremendously when she had Rachel and Seth. The birth of those kids were some of the best days of my life. We had an Orioles theme for Rachel's birth and a Ravens theme for Seth. The love Jess had for her kids is incomparable and so inspiring. It is such a gift to see how much of Jess I see in her children. Jess has always exhibited tremendous courage and bravery, but it grew exponentially when she was diagnosed. She blew me away with her Christ-like attitude and joy in the midst of her greatest trial. She immediately started telling people that she did not have stage 4 breast cancer, but that it was actually breast cancer. She found the good in everything. She would forget herself and focus on others. The day of her double mastectomy surgery, the hospital was so delayed and she had been without food or water for most of the day. The doctor rushed in and apologized for the wait. She responded by asking if the doctor needed anything or needed a break. He looked stunned by her compassionate response. Most people had no idea how much pain she was in because she was always smiling and directed her attention on helping others. Every time we were at the hospital, we would look around the room to see who needed encouragement or help of some kind. It could get so exhausting trying to keep up with her generous heart. She loved others intensely and was almost generous to a fault. She really taught me how to have a servant's heart and how to love God and people profoundly. Her passion for glorifying God with every word and deed was like nothing I have ever seen. Jess never got angry about her trials. Instead of asking, why me? She would concentrate on how she could respond with great faith. Jess was immensely passionate about supporting and promoting the mission of the organization Believe Big, which gave us so much life-saving advice. God used Believe Big to help provide answers that led to so many miraculous turnarounds. I read this quote that made me think of Jess. It says, "When you become consumed by God's call on your life, everything will take on new meaning and significance. You will begin to see every facet of your life, including your own pain, as a means through which God can work to bring others to Himself." Jess turned her pain into someone else's gain and created a beautiful ministry. Jess and Jonathan's faithfulness to God in the midst of so many storms increased my faith beyond measure, and has done the same for many others. I am dedicating my life to completing the dream she had and to continue the legacy she created. We may be identical twins, but I will never fill the shoes she left here.
There's nothing quite like serving others and doing it in a way that's with passion and with really the end goal just being, how can this help their life? How can this improve their journey in life? And when you come at it from that, rather than just what's the monetary the goal there, and that's, yes, we need money to be able to to be able to put food on our table and have a roof over our head, certainly, yes. But if that's like the number one reason for why you do what you do, you should maybe consider switching into something that has a little bit more meaning or purpose behind it. And that's why we're so fortunate here at Critical Bench, because we do truly love what we do, but in doing it, we know how it's benefiting the person on the other side. Just to live a healthier, stronger, longer, more vibrant, more exciting life, right? And so I'm just so grateful for you and for the work that you're doing and continue to do, and the work that you've started doing for us has been so fantastic. And I'm just blown away by your story and your strength. Obviously, it's kind of like your sister's just still with you. She's just inside now, inside your heart, and helping you kind of continue to take these steps and make all these wonderful new memories and new experiences. And you'll be experiencing some new life this summer, which is pretty exciting as well, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're naming our daughter after my twin.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, we were excited to get that news a little while back, certainly, and so that's awesome. So you got to take good care of yourself and not overtrain.
That's
right. Stay active, but don't overdo it, right? Right. Well, it's been so great. Now, people are going to want to see pictures. They're going to want to get to know you better after hearing your story. And so where's a good place that they can go and get to know you a little bit more? Like, what's the best platform for you?
Let's see. On Instagram, I have an account at Joannimal1, JOANNMILLER, the number 1. I think I just started to spell my email. I'm sorry, that might have been a pregnancy brain moment. I apologize. Joannimal,
No, that's
J-O,
okay.
and then it's animal, and then the number 1 is my Instagram.
Oh, I like it. Okay, it's Joannimal1 is your Instagram. Okay,
also,
cool.
I have a website with my husband. We have www.livefit.net. And on social media, we also have a Miller Time Fitness page. Our last name is Miller, so always time for fitness. So I like that name. And so we have some great tips on there. And I love it. My husband's super involved too. He has his USAW cert, and he's got his black belt in Taekwondo. Actually, on our first date, we did push-ups on our knuckles, and I knew he was the one for me. I knew it right away.
Right away, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. My son's doing Taekwondo. He's been doing it since he was just before he turned 5, and he's 10 and a half now, and he has his black stripe belt, which is a red belt with a black stripe, which means his next belt would be a black belt. And I told him, I said, buddy, once you get your black belt, you always have your black belt. I mean, you're a black belt for life, and no one can ever take that away from you. And that's an amazing accomplishment for anybody in any form of martial arts. And so I'm like, you got to see it through, because he's really into baseball now, and he loves his baseball. But I'm like, we got to stick with our Taekwondo until you get your black belt. And then if you want to take a break for a little while, you can take a break. But you got to see it through.
That's awesome.
So it's it's fun. And, I love in closing, the value of sports and the value of training in our life goes far beyond the aesthetics, far beyond just, winning and losing. In team sports, you learn so much about how to be a good sportsman, about how good a win feels after a series of losses, what it takes to endure maybe a difficult season on a bad team, just all these things. How to be a good cheerleader for your teammates when they need it, and also again for individual stuff, like a form of martial arts or any other like individual sports when it's kind of all about you at that point, but it's still. You have a contributor, you have coaches, and you still have other people, right, to help you and encourage you and get you there. But there's so many great, valuable lessons in this that all kids, I think, should be part of some type of team sport or individual sport because it's stuff that you'll take with you for the rest of your life. It makes you a better human being, and a nice side effect of it makes you stronger, and it keeps you fit, and it keeps you moving, because if you're not moving, you're dying. I mean, it's as simple as that. Our bodies are designed for movement, and we need to move them well and keep them going, and that's what leads to just a more independent and fun-filled life. Even as we get up in age, when we have grandbabies and stuff, I mean, being able to move around and play around with them, that's what I want to be able to do when I'm older. So, stay active. I mean, no matter what, find a way to stay active and find people like Joe Miller in the world that can keep you going, So it's been so much fun. I thank you so much for sharing a very touching and emotional personal story. It's really powerful, and I know it's going to touch somebody and hopefully just make them feel a little bit better that even though you can have major loss in your life, you can still go on and life can still be worth living. So I thank you so much, Joe, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a real blessing. Listeners, thank you so much. Now's the time. Hit that 5-star on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast. Give us that 5-star rating. Leave a review if you could. Just a few words or a few sentences about this episode or any past episodes, what this show means to you. We greatly appreciate that because it really does help us. It helps other listeners find our show and read from other listeners why they like it so much. So that's fantastic for you to do that for us. And we'll be back next week, as always, here on Strong by Design. Every Wednesday we release a new episode. Sometimes we even release some bonus episodes. when we can. So we appreciate it. We're doing well here in 2022 in season 4, season 5 coming in May, and we're just rolling along on the Strong by Design show. So thank you so much, and we'll talk with you soon. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.